Do you guys have any questions before we fully get started?
No, let's have fun. What's the hard feelings right
Oh,
next to you?
Major League.
That's what I thought. I was like, man, no one really knows Major League, man. Those dudes are ripped, man.
Dude, yeah, dude, I completely agree, and that's probably like one of my favorite pop punk records of all time, and so underrated.
Dude, States Away, like that song still bangs. Like I still listen to that. And then
Yeah.
I think Major League had like I want to say a pretty killer. I bought like their shit on like Bandcamp. You can pull some of this into the show if you want to, but like I used to have this like hard line on streaming. I was like, fuck that. I was like, buy a record off of them from Bandcamp, go to their show, buy their vinyl, you know, F Spotify, F Apple, but I have essentially all of Major League stuff
Oh
on
yeah.
Bandcamp, and like they had a killer acoustic EP.
Oh yeah. That one was very solid as well. But it would be cool to see them do like one more thing because they kind of just ended in like some of these things have I think made it to 10 years already. So we'll see.
Yeah, that shit's weird. I'm old, man. Like in the music scene, I'm like old a few times over.
Dude, I hang out with all the old heads here in Minneapolis. Like I feel like I hang out with all of the dudes, everyone that's way older than me. I hang out with them so much that like I can't even like think about going to a house show because I would just feel way too old to even do that. And I'm like not that much older than most of the house show people still.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
great, man. I felt old for house shows like a good 15 years ago. So like now I'd have to call up and be like, what's the stairs situation like? Is there a ramp to get my little rascal up and down? Okay, Michael, I will stop sidebar before we even start the show,
no,
man.
you're good, man. This is gonna be a good time. Uh, my only question for the three of you before we fully get started is obviously I know you have your smoked beverage there, but do you guys have an unopened beverage that you'd like to participate in the opening crack with?
Absolutely. I got my mixer ready.
Hell yeah.
Got the bottle open already.
Perfect. So what I'll do is I'll count us down. Uh, we'll crack these. I'll bring the three of you in, and we'll just have a good time.
Oh yeah.
See ya.
Good.
All right. In three, two, one. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. Very stoked to be sitting down with this band tonight. I know I just had Mud Whale on technically last month or this month. Time's a construct, but I don't hit too many Ohio bands, so it's nice to get another Ohio band under the belt. I'm sitting down with Surrender the Ghost tonight. How you guys doing?
Doing
Good.
good.
Killer, man. Yeah, killer.
For people that aren't aware of Surrender the Ghost, you guys are kind of like an alt rock band, like I said, based out of Columbus, Ohio. You have, I feel like we have a lot to talk about, and you guys have been, hustling for like a, kind of like you said a little bit ago, like 8 months, a short time for a lot of these milestones that have happened already. So I'm stoked to try to kind of jump into all that. But before we get too far, can you kind of go around the room and say who you are and what you do in Surrender the Ghost?
I'll go ahead and start. My name's Ricky. I am the singer and lyricist for Surrender the Ghost.
I'm Brandon. I'm a bassist and Ellis is a therapist from time to time.
I'm Matthew Ellis, guitar player, songwriter, jack of all trades when it comes to everything else. Harassing people via email or DMs to work with shows and everything else. So not in a creepy way, but just like one of those guys who refuses to stop and take no for an answer. But
The
not
band mom.
Yeah, I
band
was just
mom.
gonna say every band needs to have one of those people in it because you can only take no for so long. Like some people would just give up, but if you can fight back and like finagle your way still in there and like turn a no into like a maybe and then turn it into a yes, like you need that kind of person in your band.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
I wonder how many like incredible bands have like never made it out of the basement just solely based on the fact that no one really had like the drive to like push it, or maybe even the stupidity to try to push it as far as possible. You know, I don't know which it is, the drive or the stupidity.
Uh, but thankfully, you guys have pushed through that. Before I finish go into my next sentence, we are missing a couple members. Who are they, and what do they do as well?
We're
Yeah,
missing
we're missing.
Tony, our
Yeah,
guitar player.
we're missing our other guitar player, Tony. All he pretty much does is crack cold beers and shred guitars. And then we're missing our drummer, Mark Johnston. And all he really does is bang on the drums and complain about things
And crush Pepsi.
and smoke cigarettes.
And
Really, I
smoke
mean,
cigarettes.
if you think about those four things, that's kind of a full plate.
Yeah.
Well, this is where I normally say this is where we pour one out in their honor since they're not here with us tonight. But we don't. By pour one out, I just mean we have a drink in their honor because we don't spill. We don't waste alcohol in this podcast. So this is to them.
Cheers.
Cheers to them.
Cheers.
So now to jump into the the history of this band, because the first single, We Don't Do Pity, came out in June of 2024, so not even a full year ago at this point. But if you scroll all the way back on your guys' timeline on Instagram, you guys kind of started the band back in 2022. Like, what's this timeline? Like, what are these gaps here? Because obviously, I would get the COVID thing if it was like pre-2020, but this is like tail end COVID, and then we have a huge gap leading up to We Don't Do Pity. Like, what is this? What's this lore that's unknown about the band out there?
Well, I'll jump in on this one, and these guys have some really great takes on this story also, and give you some of the origin. So this kind of was a COVID project. I had played music for years and was just kind of fed up with it. Walked away around 2017, started doing a craft beer and comic book podcast, was having a lot of fun. COVID hit, and we were like a in one room type podcast. So that was starting to slow down for me. And I had recently talked about this. I was, to sound super irresponsible, I was in a Burger King drive through, relatively buzzed, listening to one of my favorite records. And I was just like, I want to write an EP. I want to start a band. And I came home and I told my wife, I was like, I'm gonna start a band. And she is just like, you're not starting a fucking band, because like I only have like one speed. Like I was like, I'm just gonna write a record. And she's like, bullshit, I know that's not how you work. And then from there it was just kind of assembling some friends that I had played music with in the past. And the plan was to kind of assemble this band that I was in the very early 2000s and write a new EP. And that wasn't coming to fruition. But by this point, I was already demoing out so many songs and I was getting really excited about music again. So then it was trying to find the right people to fit, which is really hard as you get older and you're in your late 30s or early 40s. It's just commitments and family and everything else. So we have been through more members. I don't know, name a band. We've been through more members. From 22 to now. We were joking previously, like we need to make a shirt that just says I used to be in Surrender the Ghost, because that's how many members we've had. From there I'll let Brandon jump in, and then Ricky come in after Brandon.
Yeah, so I mean, starting in 2022, like me and Ellis worked together, and from 2022 till like, I'm trying to think when me and Ricky actually officially joined. Was it into 23?
Yeah, it was the fall
like
of
September,
23.
August.
Yeah. So that whole in between time would just be Ellis calling me like, "Oh, I'm kicking this guy. I'm done." He's like, "Do you want to be in the band?" And I was like, I hadn't played in music in like, I hadn't played a show in probably like 12 years. I was just kind of like, I'm kind of okay with what I did and okay to be done with it. So I would just kind of listen to him lack of better terms, bitch about the different people that were in the band. And finally, the one time he was just kind of like, yeah, I'm getting rid of the bassist. You're playing. I'm like, all right, that's cool. And then the next you go to a practice and he'd be like, he played really well. You're not in. That's cool. I'm cool either way. And then then finally kicked out the singer, kicked out the bassist, or asked the bassist to basically leave himself. I don't know if he officially kicked him out. And then and I joined in, and it was like a week later Ricky was in and off to the races.
Yeah, and the way that I actually met Ellis, I met him first, and he invited me out with the guys. Was I was at a Real Friends Knuckle Pucks concert. At it wasn't Ace of Cups. It was a local venue that actually ended up being the same venue our first show was at. But I literally just walked past him like 3 times on the way to the bathroom, and just was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, dude? Oh, this guy again, you know." And the third time, he was like, "Hey, weird question for you. Do you sing?" And I was like, "What? Why would you ask me that? I'm some random dude at a show." But yes, I do sing. That's crazy that you asked me. So I was like, yeah, I sing. And he's like, all right, cool. Add me on Instagram. And I was like, okay. So I added him on Instagram. I'm like pretty drunk, so I forget until the next day. And then he like hits me up on Instagram. He's like, hey man, are you still interested in like, joining the band? And I was like, I get, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. And he's like, all right, here's some music, write 3 songs. And I was like, what? I just met this dude. He's like, why don't you write lyrics to 3 full songs? And I was like, I'm not going to spend hours of my time for a stranger, for a band I haven't even really heard the music for. So long story short, I just kind of took a break. I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. Never wrote any songs. He messaged me like a week later, and he was like, hey man, we actually had another guy audition. We're going to let him sing in the band. I was like, cool, no problem. It's fine. I hadn't been in a band since college. It'd been years, over 10 years. And then fast forward like 2 months, and he gets back to me and he's like, hey, it'd be cool if you wanted to come like listen to our music and hang out at one of our practices. And I was like, cool. I was thinking they might need me to sing harmonies or need me to sing backup if they're doing vocals or recording or something. And I was like, yeah, I'll come listen. And I show up and there's only 4 of them and no singer. And I was like, is there a singer? They're like, oh no, we just wanted you to come listen to the music and meet the guys. And I was like, all right, cool. And so I sat through a rehearsal, drank a little bit with them, and then that was where it all started, and I kept coming back. So that's pretty cool and pretty random that he even asked me in the first place.
But really, the more you know me, it's like the less random.
The less random it is. Yeah, it's not the first time you've done that.
Right. We just recently played with Seosin, and Ricky was meeting some of my friends from Cleveland, and they're like, how do you know Ellis? And he's like, oh my God, you won't believe this. And he like tells them this story, and they're like, no shit, we met him here at Amberlin the same way. It was just like I was at Amberlin by myself at the garage
Talking
shop,
to strangers,
and now we're like fast friends,
Yeah. Then you stay to their house, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was that, or I stayed at the Red Roof Inn that when I got there, the table and sorry, I'm sidebarring. There's an entire
fine.
burnt cigarette burn on this desk in this Red Roof Inn. Like
obviously not a Red Roof Inn Plus.
No. Like someone
Just
lit it up
regular.
and just sat it down on the desk. I mean, this is an entire burnt down cigarette.
Was it Mark?
I was like, this place is not clean. But yeah, that's kind of the general start of the band. And from there, we were just continuing to like grind on this EP. We had already had some songs in the work at a studio we were going to, Real Love in Dayton, Ohio. And we were recording on 2-inch tape, just going for like a really raw, like big rock sound, which I think we accomplished with that first 4-song EP. And so then we were kind of rushing to get Ricky back into the studio, finish up these songs that he was now like writing lyrics to, and just kind of coming up with some incredible hooks and melodies and lyrics. Like I really think Ricky's got a pretty incredible gift for that.
Now in this giant array of people that have been in the band at one point, like what do you think was like the hardest position to fill repeatedly? Because like I know I have some friends from back home, like they kind of made the same joke, or we would make all the same joke of like we should like do a reunion of all the members that have played in the band, because it would like you could just every song you would swap out to like every couple measures or something. And I know like one of the hardest things that we were trying to do was like either keep a steady drummer, or I think keep a guitar player. But it was mainly the drummer was the hardest part to always have filled. Like, what was the hardest part for you during that time to keep filled?
Man, I always think it comes down to like vocals, because like to find a great vocalist, which we have in Ricky, is like just unbelievably hard to do, and especially like when you have a sound in your head. But like vocals, and I sound like shit, and anybody, like nobody else in the band can really like sing, but like vocals. And then I agree with you, like find a good drummer. But I think that's because like a great drummer makes a band and a great vocalist makes a band. You can find any fool to play guitar, because everybody plays guitar. And then henceforth, any fool that plays guitar can be like, hey, you're on bass. And they'll be like, oh, okay. So I feel like the three stringed instruments are just like the complete boneheads of the band. And then you get like the talent on the drums and the vocals.
Hot take.
Yeah.
Hot take.
But that first EP that you're talking about is called "Don't Mind Me." That came out back in August again of 2024. So not even, I think that's only 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Time's a construct at this time, at this point in time. But like, it's been crazy to see the momentum, because obviously the first single drops in June, dropped the EP in August, and then come October you end up signing with PNWK Records. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
From everything I see, like they're amazing people to be like running a label. It's nice to see like more homies and stuff like move over to them. Obviously, RIP Thumbs Up Records. But seeing a lot of like the roster move that way. Like how, like before we get into this EP, like how did that come about? And how's it been so far working with PNWK?
The PNWK stuff has been great. They've really helped us in like a lot of areas. I think some of the way it came about, and I'll let Brandon really dive into this, because he was instrumental in kind of making this happen. But
yeah,
I think we were like laying this groundwork of when our first EP was coming out, like we were like hustling and like super late nights trying to figure out how to upload music to Spotify and getting our art approved and everything, because we were dropping our single in June, and I think it ended up coming out like 1 week before our first show, which was opening for Alien Ant Farm, as Ricky said, at the venue where we met. So it was we were hustling to do that. So we came out of the gates with this like incredible show, and just based on like contacts that I've had in the past from my time playing music around the Central Ohio music scene. And from there we went on and we did a show with Every Avenue, and we were just really like kind of this mission of like just playing these really big shows that matter. So I feel like we were just kind of approaching it with just, I don't want to say like a very professional mindset, but just like a very focused mindset, as opposed to like I've been in very too many bands to count that was just like, yeah, we'll play your basement or your kitchen, like so from there I feel like we were just building this really strong resume of being like a live band and playing these big venues. And then Brandon, go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, and then so yeah, we played with Alien Ant Farm, and then I think what was like a month later we were opening for Every Avenue, Rookie of the Year. And I run the band's Twitter page, and I was just on there kind of looking, and kind of saw some stuff from like Cascade Riot, and I saw that they had just signed with PNW. So I was like, oh, let's check out this label. And me and Ellis kind of have this thing where I'll find something and just kind of like toss it to them and be like, just kind of go to work. And so I saw them. I was like, hey, might be someone we should reach out to, see if they're interested. And so he emailed him, and within was like 2 weeks, we had a Zoom meeting to talk about everything that we're trying to do, and it just kind of fell in line that what we're trying to do, they're wanting to help with.
Yeah, I love their whole message behind their label, and everything that they're doing, and like just seeing that roster like already start out and grow, and like just see all the heavy hitters that are on that roster with you guys, like they got some you have some good roster mates, and they have some good talent underneath their belt right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it was super fun. I mean, just sitting down with Rob and Sam on our first like meeting, and really it was just it was kind of like just hanging out with you, Michael. Like it was just a bunch of laughs and like had a lot of fun. And then like all the business stuff was kind of like sidebarred about like the band and everything. We were just really kind of laughing and ribbing back and forth, and it was just like it felt like a really good fit. And from there they just kind of really kind of believed in like our focus on what we want to do. We're not a band that can go out and tour for like a month straight, but we kind of explained to them like, our focus is like on the release side and videos and playing these shows that really like spotlight us in front of larger crowds. And yeah, they've been super supportive.
Yeah, it's been great to bounce ideas off them too, just because they do have experience, and just to kind of share like what our goals are. They kind of opened our minds up a little bit to different things to focus on, like just who we want to be as a band, and which direction we want to go. Like we always had that growth mindset, but having a little bit more direction and guidance from them is definitely helpful too.
I think one of my favorite parts, Tony, who's not here, who's only good at drinking beer and shredding guitars, but Sam and Rob was like, okay, like what's your brand? What's your mission statement? What's your brand? And Tony just messages me privately. He's like, I like Adidas. It's like, what do you mean brand? Because our first photo shoot, he thought he was gonna get me because I was like, don't show up looking like a doofus, and he shows up in like a all Adidas tracksuit, like all corned out. So he's like, I don't know what our brand is, Adidas, and I was like, well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, what's funny though is now it's his thing. So like now every time we have like a shoot or a music video, he's got to wear an Adidas tracksuit.
Hell yeah.
So be careful what jokes you tell.
Right, they could stick.
Right.
Like a nickname.
Yeah. Yeah, Rob and
love
Sam's been super great. They helped us, really were like instrumental in us having our music videos drop along with our most recent singles. So we have our EP will be out in 2 weeks, which is called Don't Mind Me. And we've had our singles out before this. Smoking Doesn't Help came out in January. And then, sorry if I jumped ahead on you, Michael, but
no, you're fine.
Then the joke is completely on us, I should say. This was not meant to happen, but our single that came out in February on Valentine's Day, called Faster Than Expected, was also followed up by a music video. And maybe hindsight being crystal clear, maybe we shouldn't have had that drop right on Valentine's Day, but we're just going to go ahead and roll with once it was set in stone, we're like, well, we're rolling with that.
Yeah.
Michael Scott would be proud.
Yeah.
No, but that's awesome that you guys were able to find each other and gain this partnership. Jumping into this EP and everything that kind of what the songs that you're talking about and everything that we're leading to. It's called Everything Is Everything, and it does drop at the end of March, on the 28th, and at the time of this recording, you have one single out for it so far. Like you mentioned, Smoking Doesn't Help. How does it feel to have that song out so far with like this new version of, or like this new, I don't know if version's the right word, but like this next chapter in Surrender the Ghost, like under the belt, like with like the first sneak preview of this new chapter out?
I think it's been really exciting so far. Just because it's our first music that's tied to PNWK. So, like I said, like not only the guidance, but the support for them and the just extra widespread just publicity of getting our music out there is already shown so far. So it's been really exciting, and I'm really proud of this product that we're putting out. This next EP is my favorite so far.
Yeah, I mean this EP was great to listen to. What I normally obviously do, like I mentioned on these episodes, is I'll go and kind of listen to everything that's out there, leading up to the episode. So I listen to Don't Mind Me, and then listen to Everything Is Everything probably more times than one person should do in an X amount of hours, but that's totally okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's like no skips on it, and it's just been fun, and like I'm always ready to hit that repeat button and just kind of go through it all again. Like it's straight solid for these 6 songs that you have on there.
Yeah,
it's solid, dude.
Thanks.
Really
yeah, thank you.
that.
Yeah, it felt really good. I think with Everything Is Everything coming out, there were so many start and stops with We Don't Do Pity, and there's like a lot of scheduling conflicts. And then as we had talked about, like some member changes, as where with Everything Is Everything, like it came out and it's just like it was all of us going into the studio with a focus, with like lyrics ready, and it just feels like, not that Don't Mind Me doesn't feel like it's us, but this just feels like I guess it's like the 5 of us, and it's not like people stepping in trying to like fill out the sound to move it forward, and we really focused heavily on production with this, with Neil at Amish Electric Chair in Athens, Ohio. And it's a phenomenal studio. He's like the best dude. He put up with us for 2 weekends, and that was not an easy task, but
yeah, we slept on site.
Yeah.
Let us do what we want when we were done recording out in his yard. Build fires.
Yeah. Michael, are you an Arrested Development fan of the show, not the band?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we're like stone cold, like middle of the night. Like Brandon has to sleep with TV on. This quick sidebar. And I wake up in the middle of the night, TV's blaring, and it's this line from Tobias. And anybody out there who doesn't watch Arrested Development, please go and watch it. It's probably the greatest show ever. But he's like, Michael, I have to agree with Lindsay. The man runs a prison. He can get any piece of ass he wants. It's just like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to bed. I have no idea what time it is.
Man, that's a show I haven't watched in a while, and I think I'm going to have to go back and like redo that one. It's like, I currently, sidebar on my end, I currently live like by myself. I bought a house a couple years ago, and before that I was living with some friends here in Minneapolis, and we would do this routine of like, we'd watch Always Sunny, like everything that's out, and then that would end, and then we'd put on another show, basically watch that entire series and just go through this loop. But ever since I've lived by myself, like I got out of that loop, so like I just watch the same shit all the time, or like I'll find like a new show to watch. But like I was hanging out with them the other day, and like we'll mention Always Sunny. I'm like, oh man, I just need to go back and just get back into my old habits of just start one, work our way, and then go to the next.
It's Always Sunny, such a great show though too.
Oh, dude, it's classic.
Yeah, once I fall down the Arrested Development rabbit hole, man, I just find myself like quoting it constantly. Like it's unbelievable how good that show is. But yeah, we stayed on site. Neil put up with us, and it just like we really focused on the work, and he's incredible. We spent a day on just really getting drum tones, which was like I'd never done anything like that. As like normally it's like walk in, mic them up, and okay, yeah, they sound pretty good, let's go. And but he just is so focused and really a master of his craft. So and I think you hear it in the EP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, like obviously, October to March, that's only again 6 months in between dropping two EPs. Like, do you feel like there's a sense of urgency to kind of get this to keep the momentum going and that's why you're releasing kind of so soon? And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to be releasing. It's just my general question, I guess, that I have.
I think
I'll let
that, yeah, I was gonna say, I think that I think keeping the momentum going is definitely important, especially starting out, like you said. Um, we are a young band, and the first EP was just kind of us getting our feet under us and really just being like, all right, this is the crew that we're going to stick with. This is our sound. Like, we can grow from here. And I think when we really dialed into that, when we committed and we went to Neil with this, second EP, it was kind of quick, but honestly, like Ellis has even more songs that he's written for me to write lyrics to since they've been a band for 2 years before I even joined. So there's a whole catalog of music for me to start writing to. So we've got a lot more to come. We plan on being back in the studio in the summer, and we're just gonna try and keep on pumping out music and making, having fun.
Yeah,
I mean, all I can say to that is I didn't make the damn algorithm. So like it's like trying to keep up with that is like a headache all on its own, It just seems like you always have to be on it or like you just get squashed.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then like even nowadays, like compared to like, releasing stuff 10 years ago, where everyone's doing singles, whether they're tied to an EP or not. Like they're just releasing singles every couple months just because of this new attention span that everyone has. Where I'm still one of those old heads that like I like one, two, maybe three singles, and then give me that EP, give me that full length, and we rock the whole thing. And like I get the single track, but it's so hard because you listen to one song and like none of the songs are cohesive enough to be like one story. So it's just like, I wanted more of that sound, but you lost it on the next one because you guys changed. Not that changing is bad, it's just I like that
Mm-hmm.
story aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm right there with you. I feel the same way. Like I discovered some new bands last year and you maybe they have a couple of EPs out. And what I've noticed too is like maybe they have some EPs out from like 2020 and then everything from there is just singles. And yeah, I like to hear a cohesive EP or an album. And then if some singles pop up afterwards and they're just kind of shuffling through it, but I usually go to like an EP or album and yeah, it's a weird time in music, but then again, I guess music has always been pretty weird.
Yeah, if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Uh, Ricky, I do got to ask you. When you guys were promoting the first single dropping and everything, uh, everyone in the band kind of hit you with some snowballs in that little teaser
Yeah.
thing on Reel, I guess, on Instagram. Uh, do you feel like anyone took advantage to get a little aggression out at that time? Because some of those shots are starting to get a little dicey there.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I don't think anybody would ever admit it, but when you have a shot, you'll take it.
Brandon's an old school Cleveland Browns fan, so there might have been a battery packed in one of those snowballs.
I got my guard up in time to not get hit. I got hit in the head, but not in the face, so I'll take it. I knew what I was putting myself up for.
uh, if someone's like, obviously this episode comes out a couple weeks before everything fully drops. So there'll be a few singles that everyone should have listened to already, but like when this full thing finally drops, like what are some things that people can expect to get out of this record that I don't know, for like a new listener, like what's something that they can like get and then understand, like you guys are starting the Ghost, this is who we are, this is what we do, and then become lifelong fans.
Oh yeah. Who wants to take it?
Yeah, Brandon, jump in, man.
Such a tough one.
Well, you know how much I love to talk. I could jump right into kind of like our mission statement, but uh, I think it really harkens to like Ricky's like, Brandon pointed out before, like I had this thing like when we were forming the band, it was like loud guitars, sad songs, and like I really wanted to push that. And Brandon's like, dude, our songs aren't sad. Like Ricky has this like upbeat positivity and all about getting better. And I'm like super motivation guy to the point like Brandon just bought me a deck of cards. Like you shuffle through and pick a new card every day, and it's got some motivational. And I like, I mean, I love that shit, man. But like so Ricky's like positivity. I want people to hear these songs, and I hope they hear these songs and they can really relate to them and feel this sense of like, things have been rough, but things are better, like Ricky has this line in Faster Than Expected. He's like, there's times that I'd like to think back, but the new shit's not so bad. And like, to me, that just talks about like changing and looking at your past and recognizing it and, maybe like longing for it a little bit, but realizing like you have to live in the moment and continue to like push forward. Like, I just want people to know that if they continue to work on being the best versions of themselves, like they can accomplish that. And I think in our mission statement, when we figured out what a brand was outside of just Adidas, I kind of put like I Surrender the Ghost can be the soundtrack to you hopefully becoming like the best version of yourself. And I know that maybe that sounds super inflated and too much, but like that's what I hear when I hear Ricky's lyrics.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think that was a really good question too, because it makes us kind of think, like what do we hope people hear when they hear this EP? Because we get so much into the sound and the artistry of it. And for me, when I wrote those lyrics and what I still try to write is just like things that are applicable to things that we've all been through. I mean, like we all grew up listening to early pop punk, and like that was like it's still my favorite genre. I'm still stuck in the early 2000s, and but we've all grown up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I'm the youngest one in the band, and I'm gonna be 33 this year. So it's like it's just we have been through life, and a lot of people have been through life, and I just feel like it's relatable to know like shit has sucked and maybe it does still, but like it's not the end of the road. Like there's just a lot of community in this music scene, and a lot of sadness too. So it's just like it's cool to throw a little bit of positivity in there and switch it up a little bit.
Which I gotta say, like writing, being someone my age, because I'm 32, and a lot of the people, a lot of the bands right now in the scene that are in this DIY scene that I've been, I talk to. Usually, I feel like the old guy talking to them, and
Yeah.
it's not. And like I told them the same thing that I'm about to say to you guys is like I love that you guys are writing with the times and not just like focusing on like back in high school. Like,
Mhm.
yes, we grew up listening to like all those pop punk bands back in like early 2000s and 2010s, but like a lot of their shit was all just like still whining about high school for
Yeah.
being like 30-year-old dudes. And it's like I want the fucking song that's like talking about like shit that I've already gone through, or like where's the song saying like rent's too fucking high. Like I
Yeah.
want that relatability, and I
I
love
just bought a
Yeah.
house. I
getting
miss my
this.
roommates.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, to that point, that's actually like Ellis. So like I said, when I wasn't really into, I wasn't going to play music again. I really wasn't even listening to this type of music a lot. I got really into like hip hop, and Ellis reached out to me and was like, "You need to listen to this new Wonder Years album." And I checked out, Hum Goes On Forever, and that was like the first time where I was like, "Man, these guys are writing about where they are in life currently," and that was like so cool to me to hear. And that's what like brought me right back into wanting to play this kind of music again.
I mean, that's how I felt when I, granted, I still listen to this record probably way too much, but uh, like free throw or anything early free throw, like I connected to that because of where I was at the time. A lot of early knuckle puck as well.
Mhm.
Hell yeah.
But like that's the shit that like you find that right record and like it'll bring you back right into the scene in like the
100%.
best fucking way.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that
Yeah,
new
like old school. I was gonna say old school Wonder Years, like you were talking about whining about being back in high school, but like the upside is all about like being in college and all like the frat guys, like when Soupy was at Temple, like right, and like just it's just funny to like think back to that and like reference that to where they've come, growing as a band too. Like that's like one of my favorite bands of all time. Uh, so seeing their growth too was a little bit of an inspiration to me and like where I'm coming from too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new Knuckle Puck single just dropped, man. Knuckle Puck doesn't disappoint, dude. Like
No, they don't.
Yeah.
their new album that came out, like maybe it was last year or something, that was great. That new Real Friends album.
Dude, I was gonna say Real Friends too. Real Friends
Yeah.
new stuff has been solid.
Oh, dude, so good. The Blue Hour, I listened to that like nonstop. Like, I mean, I know it hasn't been out that long, but like, yeah, you just talk about a band singing about like growing and loss and like working on getting better and I don't know.
That's the show we met at too.
Yeah, that's it.
Knuckle
That's
Puck and
it,
Real
dude.
Friends.
Yeah. See, those bands kill, man.
Definitely staples of our generation, I'd say for sure in like pop punk. I mean, I haven't seen either one of those bands in quite a long time, which is really disappointing at this point. They used to come through, like I'm from Iowa, and they used to come, like Real Friends used to play Iowa City like all the time, and I think they were here recently in Minneapolis, and I just didn't go see them, which is on me, but that's okay. That's besides the point. But yes, it's you guys are putting out great things, and I'm really stoked for everyone to listen to Everything Is Everything because like there's only so many words that I could put into like how I feel about it, which they end up being the same words all the time because I'm really terrible at describing things, as a lot of people are. I feel you, but like it's such a good record, and like I said, it's no skips. You're gonna love listening to it. If you don't, it's only 6 songs, and you can move on with your life. But when you love it, and you listen to it, and you're gonna enjoy it, it's only 6 songs, so you're gonna have to repeat and start it all over again, and go down that rabbit hole one more time.
Yeah.
Until maybe
Cheers.
by August, we might have our third EP out because we're back in the studio in June. And I made a post the other day of a guitar player, and it's like, we were in the studio, and it's like the face you make when you just released your first single and you're already booking your next like studio time, because that's one thing that I didn't miss when I was in band, when I was no longer in bands. Like when you're in a band, like you're living your life like 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
I'm always looking at like shows and booking around everyone's schedules and when are we getting this done and when are we getting that done. So it's like you're always living in the future, which at some points it's like very exciting and fun, because you're like thinking of like the things you're planning and what's coming up. But on another point, it's like, oh my God, this year is almost over. Like I'm thinking about our release for August already.
Never in my life has my calendar been this organized. I'm planned out through August, November.
Which even as like someone that does this, I obviously we booked out our episode a little ways in advance, and like I'm always booked out like at least a month in advance. It's so weird to me, like especially like January 1st hit, and like I was like, all right, start of the year, and then I looked at my calendar, I was like, okay, I'm doing all this stuff already till like March. Like where's the year gone already? Like it's crazy. Like
Yeah,
year's already halfway over in my aspect.
Yeah. Starting to appreciate it while it's here.
Yeah. Especially when you're living on those fiscal years, which are what? I never actually know this math. Ricky should know this. What is it? September to September?
Sure.
Before we start to transition, there's one other thing that you kind of mentioned to me in the emails, and I'd be remiss not to bring it up, but you guys have been doing shotgun beer reviews.
Yeah.
on the page. What sparked that? And like I said, I'm 32, and most days I haven't done a shotgun in a long time. So to hear that like you guys are still doing shotguns, like what sparked the motivation to still do that? Are you guys doing shotguns like just all willy nilly, like on the weekends, or like how did this start out?
Brandon, jump in on this.
So again, back to Tony just being really good at drinking beer and shredding. He kind of came up with that idea, and like that dude, I've never seen anyone be able to shotgun the way he does. I mean, I watched
Or
him
thumb
train.
punch.
Oh, dude, I wish I could do that.
I mean, we watched him at the Say Ocean show just knock down a like tall boy of PBR, and I was just like, Jesus.
To the point, we were drinking enough beer on our page. We were recently featured on the bands you might not know on the Chris DeMakes podcast at the end. And the only thing Chris DeMakes from Less Than Jake had to say was like, these dudes like to drink a lot. They're from Columbus, Ohio. And that
Give him a listen. That was it.
That was the intro to our song. And I was like, well, he's not wrong.
Yeah. Not the best publicity, but we'll take it, I
Right.
We've actually slowed down. We were supposed to jump back into it. We were trying to cycle each member like a week. I think, I don't know, I did post it. At one point, Brandon had shotgunned a Coke Zero, which sounds horrendous to me.
Pretty rough. I'm trying to think. I've shotgunned that White Russian too.
Oh, you did.
Oh yeah. I Stone Cold Steve Austin's IPA, and swallowed like 2 gulps of it. The rest of it was just like a beer shower.
Well, we were supposed to have Ricky do the Jackie O's Ricky Irish Ale, but I don't know if I can actually find any of those anymore. It might have been a summer release. And then I got really into trying to tornado beers, and me and Brandon had gone out to see our label mates Motion Sick. And it was just one of those random things. I went up to the bar and I was like, yeah, they got High Life in a bottle. I was like, let me get those. And me and Brandon, I have no clue how many High Lifes we put down that night, but like, I was just like, holy, this is like the best beer I've ever had. So then we were like on this High Life kick, and High Life's a good bottle to try to tornado a beer. And my wife is just like, you're an idiot. I was like, hold on, but I want to practice. She's like, why? And I was like, I want to be good at tornado and beer. She's like, dude, you're in your 40s, man. Why do you want to be good at tornado and beer? And I was like,
it's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Dude, the amount of times that I've watched the people on like TikTok of like that can just do like the 1 gulps and just like down a beer like super fast, just like open that throat. And part of me is like, I want to learn how to do that. And then also in my mind, I'm like, I'm 32. Like, there's no reason. Yeah. Like, I work a desk job now. Like, I'm not going out on the weekends. I got no one to prove this to.
Yeah, we practice on Thursdays too, so it'd be the end of practice, and I was like, "All right, who's shotgunning a beer?" We're all like, "Whose turn is
it?" Brandon, we got to take Tony out. Has anybody seen that dude for the Buffalo Bills who like $20 bets?
Yeah,
crazy.
That guy's insane.
We got to see if Tony can take that dude on. I don't even know, like
in the tracksuit.
I sat and watched a video of that dude, and I was like, man, if I like 1 gulped like 6 beers like that, I'd be done.
He does like 20 of them.
Right.
I'm like, dude, this guy is insane.
Oh yeah, he's like, you're 20 versus my 100. Yeah. And I only saw 1 dude come close to him.
So Jason Kelsey has like this new like sports show. I haven't watched it, but I saw a clip. He brought that guy on and like 2 or 3 other people, and they did like a chug race, like just like slam this glass of beer and like first one done. But like he technically won, but he was supposed to like flip it, and he didn't flip it. He just like sat it back down. So like since the other person flipped it, but it was like within like seconds with him and this other guy. And me and the rest of the crowd were very disappointed that he lost. But it's a pretty good clip.
On a
Yeah,
technicality.
Yeah.
yeah. We got to get Tony to take that dude on, man. We got to travel. And not, Brandon, you should have worn your Buffalo Bills shirt for this show, but
I should have, yeah.
I wore the national champ shirt though.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to talk sports, but man, fuck the Chiefs. Fuck the Super Bowl. We can move on.
That's all.
That's all.
Well, before we fully say that's all, I will say if we ever meet up in person, we got to do a shotgun together whenever that happens.
Oh,
Down.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tall boy PBRs all around.
Ooh, tall boy shotgun. I'll give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. I won't back down. Saying it here, it's cemented in history. But speaking of beers, obviously this is Beers with Bands. You don't have to be drinking on these episodes because I would definitely do that for you. But what are y'all drinking on this fine Monday night?
We have a smoked what? What is it you're smoking over there?
I'm just drinking some tequila on the rocks with soda water and smoking it out. Normally I roll with the Terramana, but I got Hornitas tonight.
Oh.
Hell yeah.
I'm drinking a Stella, and I drank a Stella, and then I've got a Great Lakes Christmas Ale. And then I also have some tequila. I feel like tequila is our unspoken liquor of the band. We have tequila summer.
Yes.
Or at least for me and you, Ellis. We like our tequila.
Yeah,
that's
tequila.
mainly you guys.
Where we rehearse at, sorry to jump in here, Brandon. We rent like a live stage area, and we have like a locker, and we have a little beer fridge shoved in our locker, taking up like valuable like gear space. But then forever we've also had like a bar cart in there, and other bands would show up that were on after us. I'd be like, man, you want something off the bar cart? And they'd be like, bar cart? We'd come willing it out. We had like a few bottles of liquor on there and glasses and like a rocks bucket and shit. We're just like, dude, do you even practice or do you just drink? And I was like, I don't know.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Brandon, what are you drinking?
Yeah, what are you drinking, Brandon?
I'm just being lame as shit and drinking water. So
hey, nothing wrong with that.
Hydration is key.
Yeah.
I've got water too.
Yeah.
And then for this episode, I got some Castle Cream Ales, one of the local breweries here in town. Stole it out of the beer fridge. Oh, not technically a beer fridge, but it's just a work fridge. It's just like where we put our lunches. Someone had a whole 12-pack in there. I know who had the 12-pack in there, and he was fine with me taking it. But
dude, I took these beers out of my work fridge today. I seriously did. At the office, we have like a bunch of leftover beer from like our parties that we have, or that we have like our monthly meetings or whatever, where we drink some beer. And I was like, oh, I'll grab a couple for the podcast tonight.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, one of our lenders, he uses like one of our conference rooms every year to do like their fantasy draft, and
nice.
He always ends up leaving like 2 cases of beer in the fridge, and like no one touches them, and then it's usually like I'll wait like X amount of time, probably longer than I should, and then I'll just end up like going in there with my backpack and just throwing them in there, throwing them in my lunchbox, and just being like, all right, I'm going home.
Fantasy football drafts are taken. It's been a while.
Yeah. When I took these ones in like November, I think, finally out of that fridge. So like they'd been sitting in there for a hot minute.
Yeah, the whole season, damn near.
Pretty much.
I've wanted to. My cousin lived in Minneapolis for a while. He always said that the beer scene's great out there. A lot of good craft beer, a lot of good restaurants, dude. I've always wanted to go out there and check it out.
Yeah, dude, it's a good time. For Christmas Eve every year, me and a couple friends, we do like a brewery bar hop.
Nice.
So we'll try and hit as many as we can. I mean, it's nice because you're done by like 5 or 6, and then go home and sleep it off, and then do whatever you want the next day, I guess.
Yeah.
Your family plans are, but yeah, there's a pretty good scene out here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Columbus is cool too. If you make your way out here, man, we'll do some shotgunning.
Hell yeah, I've been to Columbus in a hot minute, which I'll probably bring
Yeah.
up that story here in a little bit since I'm talking to you guys. But yeah, if we do it, we're doing shotguns. At least one or two. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
I did forget to ask the question before we ended the previous segment. Is, I know we jumped around talking about the band and everything is everything, but is there anything that I missed that you want the people to know about between Surrender the Ghost and Everything is Everything?
Nothing that I can think of. I mean, we have some upcoming shows we can talk about. Really, right now, currently, we're working on some other support shows, but we are doing a tentative release just the way the schedule was worked out. We're opening up for Weedus on April 19th at A&R Bar, and that's just the way it broke out. That's like the closest to when we're actually releasing the single, so we're kind of just tentatively using that as an unofficial like release party for us, and we're excited about that. From there, we're just back in the studio like we were saying in June, and kind of working some other summer dates for support acts that we can't really announce yet, and then trying to work some of the festival scene. But outside of that, I can't really think of anything.
Are you guys
Yeah.
doing
Yeah, the Weedus
any?
show we're stoked about though.
Are you guys doing any physical media for this release?
So not for this release, but the idea is we're going to do the EP that we're going to the studio in June, and then when we release that, it'll be a volume 1, volume 2, Everything's Everything vinyl release.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
And then to jump in on this, Michael, earlier you're talking about doing like reunion shows with like everybody who used to be in the band. I don't even know if I died if I could get everybody who used to be in this band to show up to my funeral. So I don't know if I could get them to do a reunion show.
That's okay. With my friends band, there's a few people that don't talk to the group anymore, so we for sure wouldn't get everyone back either.
We'll drink one for the missing ones then too.
Right.
Like, yeah, just off the top of my head, there's at least like 3 people that for sure are not showing up to that one. But whatever, I digress.
Yeah.
But that's sick. I will be looking forward to that volume 1, volume 2 later in 2025. I know everyone else will be as well. Be ready for Everything is Everything dropping, like I said, March 28th. And if you're in that Columbus area, go to that Weedus show and help support these dudes as their unofficial official album release show, and just be ready for other details. We'll talk links here in a second. Shameless plug: May 31st, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Beers Advance Fest 2. Be ready for that. Tickets should hopefully be up at this point that this episode's out. They should be. If they're not, I'm very behind. But that's a whole different story. Now we're going to kind of get into the stories portion of these episodes, which are always kind of like my favorite. Which is where we kind of talk about some fun stories from Guys Time Music, whether it's shows, tours, time recording. Obviously, there's a music video that is coming out on January 31st. That Times Construct, it's already out, but it's out, but it's not out, depending on who you're listening.
Yeah.
I'm sure some funny shenanigans happen then. As I normally say, they can be anything horrendous to tremendous, or any adjective in between. The way I like to think about it is the stories you always reminisce about with your friends. Those are usually the best stories that everyone loves to hear.
Yeah. I've got a funny one off the top of my head. I'll go first if that works for you guys.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Mine's gonna be the Seosin show, the end of the set. Where so this Seosin show that we played in Cleveland, it's our first show outside of the city of Columbus. We're stoked, man. Like, cause I grew up listening to Seosin. We're all big fans. It's like another big show for us, and it's a sold out venue. And we didn't have to sell tickets for the first time. We just show up, we play, we get paid. And I was stoked about it. We drove up all together, and I woke up that day and I told them when I met up with them, I was like, man, I'm not feeling that good today. Like, something's feeling a little weird. I don't know what's going on. They're like, oh, it's fine. Drink water. I was like, cool. I took like some Dayquil or something. Progressed throughout the day. We get to Cleveland, and I'm like, I'm really not feeling good. Like, I'm starting to get like a fever. I feel like I'm starting to get the chills, and I'm like, I'm just going to drink through it. So I bought like a 12-pack of Pacifico and some like Mucinex. And I was like, I'm gonna make it work. And we get to the venue. I just progressively am feeling worse. I'm just keep on drinking Pacificos to make it feel better, and it's not helping at all. And we get to sound check. We're in Cleveland 2 hours from home, all riding together. And I'm like, I got the full on like flu. Like I'm sick. I've got chills. I'm wearing like 2 layers of 2 hoodies and like in a venue full of people, like cold as hell. And then I'm like, all right, the show's in an hour. And Allison's like, you got this, bro. It's only in an hour. You'll do it. I was like, you're right. I got this. I got this. So we played the show. And we had a videographer there that PNWK actually hooked us up with. And Ellis was like, wait till the last song to get a video for our TikTok so we could post that, have some footage for that and some content. We get to the last song and I'm like surviving and I forget the words, or I like forget like a cue on the last song right when he's supposed to be recording for our single. And so like I jump back in later and we make it to the end of the show. We finish the song and like we picked up, you know, thankfully we didn't screw it up too bad. I just missed like a couple lines. Well, the footage that he took was just completely useless because it was me like looking on stage like completely out of it, like what do we do? And then and it was just really funny to look back on that, but it's also a growth moment for all of us too. But yeah, hopefully I'm never that sick for a show ever again, but I will shamelessly blame that for me fucking up the lyrics.
I've never seen someone go from like I'm not feeling well to like on his deathbed as fast as he went.
Yeah. Dude, it sucked. I laid in the back of the van for the entire Samson set while they were inside, like just in all the clothes that I had layered up, just laying in the back of the van. It sucked.
Oh god.
I mean, I'm glad,
but we did it. We played the show.
I'm glad Ricky made it through. I mean, I think he knows, but I was gonna say, little does he know. Like, I don't care if he would have been like coughing up a lung, like deathbed. I'd have been like, "We're playing this show, dude. Like, we can have your hospice nurse out on stage with us, but we're playing this fucking show."
Yeah, there's no way I wasn't gonna play the show, but I was struggling.
Hey, at least you powered through. Like, have you seen the video? Have you seen the video of the? I can't remember which member of Carpool it is, but one of the members of Carpool, like, it's in the middle of their show, and or I don't know how they do it, but like, there's a door right off the side of the venue, like that they're like still playing guitar, but they're like have the door propped open, and they're literally just hurling out the door. I think so. It's out on Twitter, but I think it also made it on like Ridiculousness at one point. But like just to still power through and like overcome that, like you doing that, them throwing up and playing, like commendable. Like
the Carpool is great too. Whiskey and Xanax get stuck in my head for a week straight. Yeah. They're so good. But yeah, that's my funny story. I don't know what you guys
got. That's pretty phenomenal. Brandon has a good story from the Sayerson show also outside after our set.
Oh yeah.
So I was just sitting out there after we got all of our stuff put back in our van, and I think was Sayerson playing, or I can't remember. I think they might have been setting up, and I was just sitting out there. Ricky was in the van just dead, so I was like, I better kind of hang out here and just make sure he doesn't actually die and watch our stuff. And this girl walks up as I'm just sitting there, and like instantly you're like, she's definitely drank quite a bit. And she walks over and she's like, "You got any weed?" No. And she's like, "You'd be a lot more attractive if you did." Well, thank you.
The video shoot was like kind of like a blur to me because like somehow I had like stumbled into working like I think 26 hours straight or something the next day. Like I was like in my work truck all night. I was on some job and got stuck there, and I got home in time to make like a pot of coffee and load stuff up and go directly to the video shoot at like 10 a.m. And I was like running on fumes, and it was cool. It was in some historic is in the Delaware County like historic jail from like what was it, 18, when was it, Ricky? Do you remember?
1800s.
Yeah, it was super old. There's some pretty good graffiti in the old jail cells. I remember.
Graphic graffiti.
Graphic graffiti, but the video shoot was a lot of coffee and like struggling to move amps, because we never move cabinets anymore because we're like all in ears and everything else. So we're like running these guitar cabs up these rickety steps into the attic and
Skinny
everything
staircase.
else. Yeah. Trying to think if I had any great stories from Seosin either, besides Tony. Oh yeah, there's a good Seosin story. We're outside at the end of the set and we're like loading up the van, and it's like inevitable. I'm sure you know this, Michael. Like none of the gear fits back into the van the way it did when you were going to the show. So somehow I'm like, where the hell does this fan go? And there's this super drunk dude. I mean, if the chick was drunk that asked Brandon to smoke weed, like this dude was like on another planet drunk.
And there's always that one guy, the night that you can't get everything back in how it's supposed to.
Oh yeah.
That just randomly shows up from the bar, whether he was at the show or not, or just at the bar. But he's just like, why don't you do it this way? It should go here and here. It's like, fuck off, dude.
He's taking a step farther for us.
Oh god.
Yeah, he offers, he's like, if you need this fan, I'll bring you this fan tomorrow. And I'm like, dude, we're 2 hours out of town. He's like, I'll bring it to you if it means that much to you. Like, and my guitar player is like, bro, you're like lit up. Where, like, do you have a far drive? And this is Cleveland. He's like, no, not too far. He's like, where are you going to? I mean, I wouldn't have trusted this dude to drive down the block.
Yeah.
He's like, Akron. I'm like, that's like an hour and a half away, dude. Like, so we figured out how to get the fan in the van. Ricky was so passed out, we might have just sat it on top of his head.
It would have been fine, honestly.
And then that was also a rough night because we got home at 2 to 3 in the morning, and then we're back up at like 6 in the morning to make it down to the studio by like 10 o'clock. And
then tune drums all day.
And tune drums all day. It was a struggle, but the opportunity to open for Seosin was like something like there's no way I was gonna miss that. Like
right.
It was super incredible. It was super great dudes too, man.
Yeah.
So I haven't told this story in a while, but I feel like it's only right since I've had a couple more Ohio bands on the pod. This would have been like 2013. Me and my friends who I went to high school with, I ended up tour managing with them and running merch and stuff. But like we did a 3-day run, so we did I think Chicago. Oh, how did we do it? I think we did maybe Quad Cities, Chicago, and then Columbus. Oh no, it was Chicago, Columbus, and then back home in Iowa. We played. So I'm trying to get like details about this place because they're like, yeah, we played here like the year before, and it was just like some old abandoned like really run down like apartment building that like basically people would like just pay money and like just like rent a room for like $20 and just go upstairs and like smoke crack and shit. And like so we're getting there and they're like, oh yeah, this is where our trailer got spray painted the year before. Like some dude was so out of his mind. He was like, I saw your trailer and it spoke to me that it needed to have this artwork on it, but all it was just a bunch of like shitty ass lines. And it was like the stupidest thing. So we obviously painted over that. But so we're going back to play this place, and the show itself was sick because it was us. If you guys remember the band Everyone Leaves, they played. This would have been like right before they kind of had that little explosion.
With Jake, yeah.
Yep. And there was another band from like Staten Island that played. It was solid bill all around. And then us being the out of town people, or one of the out of town people, they were like, "Oh yeah, if you wanted to, you guys could stay here too." And we're like, I don't know if we really want to stay in this place with like everything going on. They're like, no, you can stay in the green room. Like this door locks. You can keep all your stuff in here. And we kind of like looked in there, and it was like this really like shitty like futon mattress. Like I don't know if anyone sat on it that night, but if they did, they should have hopefully got themselves like checked the next day.
Yeah.
And like it was just super sketchy, and so we were like, no, we're good. We'll just like drive back. And then we found that was the night that I found, because I think I took off from there. There's like a rest stop right outside of Columbus, and we ended up staying there. And it was one of the only rest stops I've ever found in my travels that like had free showers, or at least we didn't pay for showers, but we got like they had private showers.
Nice.
I think about that rest stop a lot, every once in a while. But that was probably one of the weirdest and slightly sketchiest shows we ever played, was in somewhere in Columbus. They used to have a name for that venue, but I don't remember what it was. Otherwise, I would tell you.
Oh man.
Was it dirty dungarees?
No, that doesn't sound familiar. I have to look through messages, because like someone else that I had on the podcast that I think was from Columbus, they ended up they had also at one time played that same like rundown venue. It was such a weird vibe after they told us that people could just like, because we were like, why are these people coming in and out this entire night and not coming to the show? And they're like, oh no, they're going upstairs to do crack. And we're like, what the fuck is going on?
And you're like, why are we down here then? Let's go upstairs.
I knew the mosh pits were fucking crazy for a reason.
I have an insane story from when I played in kind of this like house show. Or is this strictly like Surrender the Ghost?
Surrender the Ghost.
No, this is fair game. This is an
Okay.
entire career.
So I'll make it short, but we were playing a rundown like house show in Dayton, Ohio. I had like some really great Dayton, Ohio friends, and we would do a lot of show trades. And I think one time like we went out over there just to like have a cookout with them, which is like an hour and a half, but we were just like middle of the work week. We just like showed up with hot dogs and like beer and shit, and we're like, let's cook out and make chili dogs, and like cruised home, got home late. And anyways, great Dayton, Ohio friends. Still have some great Dayton, Ohio friends. We're playing this house show with the Sugar Stems Rad Company, and I was in a basement punk band called Ships and Masses. And I had not been drinking for a while because I was on some medication and stuff like that, so I couldn't drink. I was just smoking a lot of reefer, and I like got to the point I could drink at this show. So I drank like, all I remember is passing around a bottle of brown Jose Cuervo in this kitchen and smoking blunts. And I was like, okay, we're going to sleep in the van before we leave. The other guitar player threw up in the van, so the van smells like vomit.
God.
The drummer is sleeping outside in like a reclining like a beach chair, like just out in the middle of these people's backyard. I'm trying to sleep in the front seat. I'm like so sick. Like I've never like lost so many fluids in my life. It was like every time I got out of the van, I felt like it was like gallons and gallons of fluid, like I was losing. It was so bad. On the other side, it was the first time the drummer who was trying to be in Surrender the Ghost was ever really nice to me, but he's a buddy, but he's just always an asshole. But this time he was nice to me because I thought I was dying. I was so drunk and hungover. So I'm trying to sleep and continue to get out of the van every like 10, 15 minutes to throw up. And then I'm back in the van and I hear this noise. And there's a couple of crust punk kids having sex behind the dumpster next to our van in an alley in Dayton, Ohio. And I was just like, I don't care how drunk I am. It's time to drive home. I was like, I can't sit here and listen to this. That was like the weirdest.
Get the guy out of the seat in the backyard, put him in the van.
Yeah, I was like, let's go, man. The fact that somebody could still perform while listening to someone throw up is pretty unbelievable. So that's
those crust punks. They don't care, man.
And that was
Right.
2 years ago. I'm just kidding.
And Michael's like, no wonder so many people have left this band.
Yeah, right. How old were you in that story?
Well, I was probably like 32. I was pretty young. So you got time, Ricky. You can still get it done, man.
Yeah.
I still got time.
That's one of my craziest stories. I know Brandon said he had a pretty ruckus one also.
No, I really don't.
Oh, I mean, I probably should
Not
have
like
closed.
that.
I mean, yeah, I'm not topping that.
Yeah, I don't know if you top crust punks hooking up outside of a dumpster.
Yeah, that's something.
Also, there's no shit on that story. That story is 100% true. Like it was pretty wild.
It's funny stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot to end the stories for this episode, because I don't think anyone can top a crust punks hooking up. Like I said, like I've encountered some weird things. I've thankfully never had that happen. But hopefully, maybe next time we do another one of these, you'll all have your own crust punks hooking up stories that we can bounce off, or not. That's totally fine too. That's not. There's no pressure there. But dudes, this has been a great time. I know we're laughing, we're vibing. We're already in a good high point, but I like to leave off these episodes on a high point. Either way, anyways. So like my final question to the three of you is, from your time in Surrender the Ghost, what has been your favorite moment that you've experienced so far?
Man,
Brandon, Ricky, jump in.
I would say for me, even though I was, we weren't in the prior 2 years, but getting to that first show and stepping out on stage, opening up for Alien Ant Farm, and I mean, we hustled. We ended up we sold like 160 tickets that night, and but walking out on stage in front of 600 plus people for our first show, and we were so ready that we killed it. And like for me, like that was probably my favorite moment so far.
Oh yeah,
Man, that was a good one. The nerves I felt going out to that first show, dude. I mean, all of us hadn't been on, at least me and Brandon hadn't been on stage in over 10 years.
Yeah.
And that was really special. So that is a good one. That was close to my favorite for sure, if not my favorite. I would say I think like some of my favorite times are even at practice. Like the one we can really just be ourselves and goof around and like just make stupid jokes that just funny to us, and like hanging out in the garage like when it's warm out and like we're drinking tequila and it's like there's nothing else we can do and we're just having fun and playing music and like being ourselves. I think those are my favorite moments in this band, because my cheeks hurt, like I'm just like it's such a good time, and we really did find a solid crew of guys to not only make good music but really feel like family.
That one's pretty tough to top also, but I kind of have to go with Brandon on like the first show. I remember, we'll do like hands in before we take the stage normally. And we were doing hands in back there. And then, we were like waiting to take the show and take the stage. And I can't remember who I said it to, but I was like, maybe we should have played a couple of dive bars first, because we're just looking out at this sea of people. And, Brandon said he hadn't been on stage in like 12 years.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been on stage in like 7 some, and the other guitar player the same. And
yeah, like 15 for me.
Yeah, you look out at the crowd and it was just like, it was one of the largest crowds I played in front of. And it was nerve-wracking, but yeah, we got on stage and we just killed it. And it was so like rewarding for me, because there were so many starts and stops, not just with things not working out with members and me having to ask people to leave, but for like people just leaving on their own because they couldn't really commit, or things just not working out. And to like, it would have been so easy to just be like, you know what, man, like I'm too old to be trying to be in a real band like this. Let me just like, I'm not going to do this. Like, it's not worth the headache. But I just like, out of spite, essentially, like I just refused to give up. I was like, this is going to work. And to have that happen, it's pretty magical. And then every moment kind of in between, we just released our single, Smoking Doesn't Help, and something caught over the weekend, and just seeing the numbers and kind of seeing how many people are starting to really kind of catch on to the, and our streaming numbers aren't insane, but just seeing that was also just super rewarding. It's just all the hard work and seeing it pay off, and the laughs with Ricky also. Wait, hold on, let me change it. Shotgun and beers.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. No, those are all great moments, and hopefully when we get to do this again at some point, I get to hear more great moments since this time, because you guys have really good momentum going, and I'm stoked to see just like how you guys keep progressing. Like we've already talked about, this EP is going to be out. You already have time scheduled later this month, later this year to record again. Hopefully we'll release in the fall time with volume 1, volume 2. So like you talked about earlier about having this full calendar already organized, already laid out. Like I can't even imagine what that looks like, but I'm stoked to see the results.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, cheers, man. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers.
If anyone's looking for merch, music, or Surrender the Ghost in general, where can they find it?
Anywhere across any social platform, Instagram, X, Facebook. I think most of them's just at Surrender the Ghost. Same with Spotify. If you get onto the streaming services, we are not the metal band.
Yeah, the Christian metal band is not us. But for merch, also PNWK does have some of our exclusive merch on their website as well. If you go to their website, you can look for the other bands on the label's merch as well as ours too.
So depending on where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, I think that's all of them. Already watched the YouTube version, and got to see all of their lovely faces like I did tonight. Check the hyperlinks down below. Follow them on all the socials. Be ready for new music, new merch, new show dates, possible weekenders. Who knows what's coming in the future? But just go follow them. Be ready for everything that they have coming next. Gentlemen, this has been a great time, and I truly thank you for taking the time out of your Monday to sit down with me.
Oh,
You too, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, cheers, brother.
Everyone go listen to Surrender the Ghost and check out Everything is Everything, out March 28th. Or it's out already if you listen to this afterwards. But that's a whole other thing. I'll catch everyone on the next episode. See ya.
Peace.
See ya.